Gear up, Scooter fam. Today I thought I'd take a closer look at the Nami Klima versus the Hover-1 Journey Max. No, it's not really a fair comparison, considering one costs about 4 times as much as the other. Uh, but those are the two that I have the most experience with, mostly the Hover-1 Journey Max and a little bit of the Nami Klima. So I thought I'd just kind of jump into some of the differences and update you guys on what's going on with the Klima, and and just kind of hang out a bit. So sorry if it's not incredibly detailed, but I'm just trying to jump on and have a quick discussion and chat a little bit. So here we go. The Some of the bigger differences, obviously, the most noticeable difference is probably the suspension. Um, I am back to driving the Hover-1 Journey Max for now. Uh, as it turns out, the brakes were just too much of an issue for me on the Klima to ride on a regular basis for now. I had to go out again today for a ride and to run an errand to Walmart, of course, and I took the Journey Max. I really wanted to take the Klima, considering it's the new scooter, and I do feel like I have the brakes dialed down to where I can tolerate them. But the truth is, once again, I just have no pressure, right? So I do on the front brake, but not on the rear brake, which isn't really going to help me. So uh, slamming on the front brakes on the scooter is a bad idea. So that's my only real way to stop quickly is with the front brake, and that's really dangerous. So I tried adjusting the regen brakes, which I couldn't really do, and then as an afterthought, I'm not really sure I want strong regen brakes, considering I have tape controlling whether or not they're coming on or not. So if they suddenly came on because tape fell out and they were turned up in strength, I would go flying off the scooter unexpectedly because I wouldn't be prepared for the braking. So that's a bad idea. In general, it's just a bad idea to ride around with no brakes on a scooter. In a sense, because the front brakes I had to loosen them up so much to where they still will lock up, but I got to squeeze them all the way down, and the regen brakes just don't lock up at all. I mean, they just don't lock up. So if I'm moving, I tested it. I turned the regen up and I tested. I didn't really see a difference no matter how much I turned it up. So not sure what that does exactly on this scooter. And so that being said, the I haven't tested it on the Journey Max. It just made me curious. What if I completely disassembled the brakes, like remove the brake pads or whatever on the Journey Max, so that only the electrical brakes were being used? How well it would stop. That's interesting. Right now it's very touchy, very grabby. I haven't tried to adjust the mechanical brakes on the Hover-1 on the Journey Max. I've been leaving them as they are. They work pretty well. When changing the tire, of course, I have to make sure that they're on there properly, but I don't actually adjust the strength of the brakes. So I'm assuming that the Hover-1 has stronger regen brakes than the Klima. They also only have one brake lever on the Journey Max versus two on the Klima for the front and rear. Much nicer brakes, obviously, on the Klima. To Logan, I believe it's Logan hydraulic brakes, whatever the specific type of brake is. It's something like dual piston, I believe, hydraulic brakes. So I'm just learning, all of this, all these new things. But in any case, so the the difference between the two is, in brake wise, is pretty significant. And uh, and of course you have a lot nicer suspension. You have both the two brakes. Yeah, the Journey Max is, um, although it doesn't. Interestingly enough, I think the only difference is maybe 20-ish pounds between the two. Supposedly, um, I believe the Journey Max is like 50 pounds, and the Klima's like 70 pounds. And it, just looking at them and riding them seems like it's almost twice as much. So maybe there's some differences there, but um, it certainly looks twice as big. It feels twice as big. Uh, I don't have a problem carrying either one. Up, up the steps. I don't have like a bunch of stairs, but I got some steps to go up. Not too bad. Um, so neither one's noticeably different there for me. But as far as the bulkiness, even when I am carrying it around, it's not necessarily the weight is too big of a deal, but it's a little bit bulkier. The Klima's longer, wider, bigger tires, taller. I mean, bigger in every way. Um, so that's a difference. That's pretty noticeable. Sits much higher up on stepping up onto the Klima, as I might have said, is quite a bit different. Um, than the Journey Max. The Journey Max is barely a step. So kicking off on the Journey Max is really, but you don't have a choice. They don't have a way to turn it off. Kicking off on the Journey Max is kind of effortless. It's really effortless. You don't hardly have to kick off. You just kind of step up on the scooter and hit the accelerator. Um, and so kicking off on the Klima is quite a bit different. Um, once again, seeing videos, you don't get a full picture of sort of the size. I would not have guessed the Klima to be that much bigger than the Journey Max, but it is incredibly bigger. Like I said, in pretty much every way, and to me is like a beast scooter. But I know there are real beast scooters out there, like the Bernie, the Bernie 2 and the Bernie 2 Max. Those are like sizable. So I can't even imagine like in person what that would look like as compared to the Klima, because in videos the Klima looks kind of small compared to some of these bigger scooters. So they're like, it's light, it's nimble, it's this, and I'm like, man, compared to the Journey Max, it's massive. So yeah, I'm disappointed that in the whole brakes thing, I did. Um, I Fluid Free Rides is taking care of me. They are taking care of me. They are sending out older brake system. I believe I mentioned that. It's been ordered. It'll probably ship out Monday. So hopefully I'll get it next week. And I can't really ride the Klima much until then. I'm going to take it back out and just ride around the parking lot to get the battery under 80%, because I don't want to keep it over 80% for several days at a time. And I've got to replace the brakes and everything before I can ride it again. So once I get all the brakes fixed and it's running well, then I'll go ahead and charge it back up to a full charge and start riding it on a regular basis and getting more experience on it and doing some more videos and so forth on it. But for now, I'm back to the Hover Max as far as getting around if I need to go somewhere. So I've got it in the back charging over there where it's all charged up now. But yeah, it's just looking at, it's like I said, it's a bit disappointing. And that's one thing I was going to, kind of touch on too. Now, I had a few flats on the Journey Max scooters that I have, and assuming I had the equipment around, it wouldn't take too long for me to correct or fix. I mean, I assume that's the case in either way. But the point is that this the more things there are on the scooter to go wrong, the more things that are likely to go wrong, right? So um, with the Journey Max, you have one brake, you have a very limited display. You don't have any other electrical things going on. No blinkers. Everything's pretty simple. So if something, you just have less things to go out. The brakes are, you got one brake, and they're also just standard mechanical brakes. Now, hydraulic brakes are nice, and for a nice scooter, you want to have hydraulic brakes, but you got to consider that's an extra layer of complexity. So anytime you add an extra accessory or an extra uh, ability or layer of complexity to the scooter, or um, whatever mechanical device you add to create to enhance the scooter's performance, appeal, comfort, whatever it is, that's more things that can go wrong. The suspension, right? If the suspension, messes up on the Klima, that's going to be a big deal. But I don't even have any suspension on the Journey Max. Does that suck? Sure, but it's something I don't have to worry about going bad. So it can't go bad because I don't have it. The more things that you add to the picture, the higher chance that you're going to have to be doing some work on it. So not a big deal. I just want to point that out. So you buy a nice scooter with all the bells and whistles, and those bells and whistles break, or don't work properly. I got a brand new scooter that the brake sensors are bad. They're not bad, they're wrong, right? They're just, I don't know what the previous brake sensor issue was. I know they had to replace the lights, the LED strip on the back, so I assume that had something to do with it. But this is not the case on this scooter. There's nothing wrong with the lights. It's just the mechanism, the sensor itself, the pin that activates the brake lights and the brake sensor and the e-brakes isn't long enough. Just isn't long enough to be able to be compressed by the brake lever, which is why I have to put tape in there so it'll actually make up that space. So there's a couple hacks I could do to fix that, but I can't really do anything that. I tried some less permanent ways. I could take some like JB weld and put on the brake lever so that it adds like a little, something that'll push against the sensor pin, and compress it so that it turns off the brake light and so forth. But that'd be a crappy fix, and that's not a good long-term fix. So I went ahead and told Fluid to send me the new or the old brake system, and I'll just replace it. I've got to re-bleed the brakes, and I've never done that before, but I've watched at this point lots of videos on it, and so I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of how that needs to go now. So they're also sending me a bleeding kit, brake kit. So I appreciate them for that. Like I said, it kind of took a while to get to this point, but we're here. And that's all that matters. So at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Would I like speedy service? Sure. Does that matter? Certainly. But ultimately, the main goal is to get it done, which is on the way. So that being said, night and day difference between the two scooters. One goes 20 miles an hour, one goes 40 miles an hour. One gets about 18 miles of range. I don't know for sure about the Klima yet. So far, I've been 10 miles. I've got like 80 something % battery. So, and a lot of that's just riding in front of my house. Probably half of that, 5 miles just running in front of my house. Uh, so I wouldn't use that as a gauge. Have to do a better real world test in the future where I sort of take my normal trips around. And what is going to be easier than the Journey Max because I have an odometer on the Klima. So that's nice. I don't have an odometer or any special kind of gas. Like I said on the Journey Max, I got the speed, I got the battery level. I got a few indicators on there, such as headlights and so forth, but not much. Not many other little indicators on the LED display. But it's a nice, colorful display, which is nice. The Klima's display is obviously much better and much nicer. Neither of them have an app. That doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me not to have an app on the Journey Max, although it would have been nice to control some of those things like cruise control and kick to start. Um, but all those things are controllable in the Nami just through the display interaction, which is fine with me. So I don't need an app for that, personally. And so they each have some things that are similar, and some they are both dual motors, obviously. They both can climb hills very well. I wouldn't expect anything less of either of those scooters. Um, One has 8.5 inch by 2 inch tires, and one has like 10 inch by almost 3.5 inch tires, I think. So I know for PMTs you have to get 3.5s on the Klima. So if you do have a Klima and you want to go to PMTs, you'll need a 3.5s, not the 3s. So you'll need 10 by 3.5 to fit. The 3s don't cover the rim completely. So the hub motor. So just a note. But in any case, I'll be driving the Hover-1, riding a Hover-1 around for now until I get the brakes and get that corrected. It's gonna be interesting. I've watched enough videos to where I feel comfortable. Um, I could the one brake on the left that I'm not getting any pressure from. I could probably fix if I had a kit in the right parts. And to make sure, I haven't looked at it closely yet, but I'm not even gonna bother until I have all the stuff. I don't want to take it apart and maybe leak more brake fluid and so forth before I even get the stuff to replace it. So I'm gonna do it the right way once I have all the stuff. It's on the way. It should be here next week, and then I'll do an update. I'll probably get some footage from that, and then talk through that a little bit. So if you found this video helpful, enjoyed this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And happy riding.